I'm Zach, and this is Challenger Vedic Astrology and Tarot. Welcome to the channel. So if you'd like to get either a Vedic Astrology or Tarot reading from me, you can do so at my website. It'll be linked down in the description box below. Okay, so this video is going to be for Leo, Ascendant, and Moon Sign. So let's get into this, Leo. Now, Jupiter's going to be transiting into Aries, which is your 9th house, on April 21st. But before we get into that, let's talk about when Jupiter was in Pisces last year. So when Jupiter was in Pisces, Pisces is your 8th house. So 8th house represents death. It represents inheritances, wills, estates, legacies. It's insurance. It's joint finances. It's surgeries. It's the occult. It's anything hidden. So, Jupiter during that time, you could have received an inheritance. You could have received a surgery during that time. You could have learned some occult knowledge, gotten into astrology, for instance. Also, 8th house is your in-laws, so your relationship with your in-laws could have improved. Now, Pisces naturally represents spirituality, so on top of 8th house representing the occult. So the occult practice, you could have learned, could have been spiritual in nature. 8th house is also sex. You could have been having more sex than you normally do during that year. 8th house is insurance, taxes, so you could have received some kind of insurance settlement. Your taxes that you got back during that time period if you filed early could have been more than usual. But now let's talk about Jupiter being in Aries. So first off, everything I'm saying depends on your planetary and sign-based time periods. If you're going through a bad planetary and sign-based time period, then Jupiter will only be able to help you so much. But overall, Jupiter's a good planet for you. Its main sign, Sagittarius, rules a really good house for you, the 5th house. Now, Jupiter is your 5th and 8th lord, moving into the 9th house. So, first off, Aries, there are going to be very big changes in the sign of Aries this year. Jupiter's sitting there with Rahu. Now, Rahu is explosive energy. And Jupiter is expansion. So there's going to be this explosive expansion in the sign of Aries this year. Now, Saturn is also going to have a third aspect onto this transit, onto the house where, Aries sits for you, your 9th house. Now, Saturn and Jupiter are the two largest physical planets. Rahu is the karmic north node of the moon. Rahu naturally represents your desires. So, 9th house, you'll see major changes this year. Now, what does 9th house represent? 9th house is your father, it's your teachers, your gurus, it's higher education. 9th house is religion. Also, by higher education, I mean education from master's degree onwards. It's also education beyond typical college education. 9th house is also long distance travel. So for instance, if you're in the US from like West Coast to East Coast, doesn't necessarily have to be to foreign countries, but it can be. 9th house also represents the law. Now, Jupiter here is going to provide blessings for you in these areas of life. For instance, if you have a bad relationship with your father, your relationship with your father could improve during this time. Jupiter ruling your 8th house of sudden events, moving into the 9th house, you could suddenly travel. Also, Jupiter being your 5th lord of education in the 9th house of higher education, you could receive education during this time. Also, Jupiter being in the 9th house represents books, So you could acquire books during this time. They don't necessarily have to be physical books. In this day and age, it could also be audiobooks. It can be ebooks. Basically, if you're into books at all, you're going to want to expand your library. Jupiter is also your 5th lord of romance, 8th lord of sex. Moving into the 9th house, you could have romantic foreign travels or long distance travels. Now, on the negative side, there could be some sudden ups and downs with your father. Your father could need a surgery during this time. Same thing with your teachers, your gurus. Eighth house is also the occult, moving into the 9th house of religion. So there could be some occult religious practice that you begin. It's also possible. 8th house is also research. Moving into the 9th house of education, you could research something related to your education or related to religion. Alright. 9th house is also luck, so your luck is literally going to expand during this year. You are going to be more lucky this year. Alright. But now let's talk about the aspects of Jupiter. So Jupiter has a 5th, a 7th, and a 9th aspect. So its first aspect is going to be on your 1st house of Leo. So 1st house represents you, it represents your path in life, it represents your body. So Jupiter is going to protect your health during this time. Jupiter is going to expand your personality. You're going to be more likable during this time. Also, 8th house represents transformation. So your health could transform for the better during this time. It definitely won't be for the worse. It'll be for the better. Now, unless your planetary or sign-based time period is bad. Also, one thing I forgot to mention is 8th lord of transformation being in the 9th house. Your religious beliefs could transform during this time. Your philosophy could transform during this time. 9th house is also philosophy. Alright, so now the 7th aspect of Jupiter is on the 3rd house. 3rd house represents your cousins, your younger siblings, your friends, your neighbors. 3rd house is media, it's the internet, it's communication, it's writing. Now 9th house also represents publishing. So if you're writing a novel during this time, or doing any kind of writing, especially where you want that writing to be published. Like I said, major changes will take place in the sign of Aries. Aries being your 9th house of publication, you could write and publish something this year. Or if you were already writing something, it could get published this year. And if you're not ready to publish it, then you could simply make good progress in your writing this year. Or in, communication in general. Also, 9th house represents long distance travel. 3rd house represents short distance travel. So definitely, once again, travel is very highlighted here. Now, 3rd house being your younger siblings, your cousins, and your friends. Your relationships with them will get better during this time. It's probably been pretty strained lately because Ketu has been there for about the past year. Ketu, you would have been separated from your younger siblings, from your friends, from your neighbors, from your cousins. You would have felt distant from them at the very least. So Jupiter is going to improve that a bit. Alright. Now Jupiter is also going to have an aspect on your 5th house. So what's 5th house? 5th house is children, it's romance, it's creativity. 5th house is like cinema, it's theater. 5th house is also education. So during this time, like I said, you could have some kind of romantic travels during this time. Jupiter could help you in having children during this time, especially if your planetary and sign-based time periods allow. Fifth house is speculative gains, so think stock market, gambling. And this is the best aspect of Jupiter because it's falling on the sign of Sagittarius, Jupiter's own sign. But especially in education and travel are going to be the best aspects of this transit. Also, your relationship with your father and with your siblings. Okay, that's what I have for you, Leo. And if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me and the channel out. And I'll catch you in the next one.